1 year ago, tens of thousands of people, all ages, crowded around the main stage of Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival to watch the Houston rapper perform. 10 people never got to go home. Dozens more ended up in the hospital after crowd surge turned deadly. 12 months after the tragedy at the festival, there's still a lot we don't know, mostly because of a court-enforced gag order in the lawsuits that have since been filed. But over the course of the next half hour, we'll break down what led up to the event, what happened at the concert, and what's changed. This story really starts in August 2018, when Travis Scott dropped his third studio album, an homage to his hometown and its once beloved theme park. Ron Trevino looked back at the history of Astroworld.
Let's take you back in time, October 30th, 2005. The final day of pure joy at a place where kids could be kids and so could adults, Astroworld. The final ride on the Texas Cyclone, once called the best roller coaster in the world.
I want to cry. I'm so happy and excited, but at the same time I want to cry. I'm going to miss it.
Thanks again for riding the Texas Cyclone.
Astroworld opened its doors back in 1968. Here's a bit of KHOU news film from 1974 as the place was getting ready to reopen after some maintenance work.
And on Saturday, when that first child walks in, Astroworld will be a beautiful place.
It was part of Astro Domain, the brainchild of former Houston Mayor Roy Hoffines.
This is my grandfather, filling the balloons and handing out the balloons to us at Astroworld when he opened that.
He was a driving force in bringing Major League Baseball to town. For 37 years, it was the playground for millions of Houstonians and families from all over the world, with rides like the Viper, Batman the Escape, Ultra Twister, and annual events like Fright Fest. Heavyweight fun for even real heavyweights. Muhammad Ali here in 1971, hamming it up with Astroworld costume characters.
This is the last ride that I'm ever gonna take in Astroworld.
But the final night came in 2005. The company that owned the park cited things like declining revenue, rising property value, and other issues, and our playground was closed and torn down. But the memories, no one can take those away.
In November of that year, Scott hosted his first Astroworld Music Festival in an NRG Park parking lot just across the street from where the old theme park once stood. This is video from Astroworld 2018, that crowd swarming to get past the gates, breaking through the fence, and trying to rush past security. You can see people almost crawling on each other to get to the front and be the first ones in. But there were no significant issues throughout the rest of the festival. In fact, the next day, Mayor Sylvester Turner declared it Astroworld Day and recognized Scott as an ambassador for art, education, and youth initiatives in Houston.
I grew up here my whole life. I was inspired by Astroworld in '05 when they took it away. It kind of like took a big piece of my heart away. I didn't have anywhere to go.
Then in February 2019, Mayor Turner went a step further at Scott's sold-out Toyota Center show.
This city loves you. I want to present to you a key to the city of Houston.
Let's pause and talk about Scott himself. Ron Trevino looked into the rapper's background.
Travis Scott was born as Jacques Webster in 1992 here in Houston. He's been making music ever since he was a teenager. He also lived in Missouri City and graduated from Elkins High School. Here he is in Missouri City, getting the key to the city back in 2018. From Elkins High, he would move on to the University of Texas in San Antonio, but he would drop out to pursue a career in music. It didn't take long for him to get the attention of rappers like T.I. and Kanye West, and Scott would work with both of them as he continued to work on his own music. His debut album, Rodeo, came out in 2015 and reached #1 on Billboard's Rap Albums chart. The spotlight on his personal life got intense when he started dating Kylie Jenner. Jenner gave birth to their daughter Stormy Webster in 2018. Travis Scott's first Astroworld Festival was held in 2018. He's well known for high-energy concerts where fans take part in mosh pits and crowd surfing. In 2015, he pleaded guilty to reckless conduct charges after an incident at the Lollapalooza Festival in Chicago. And in 2017, he was arrested and accused of inviting fans to bypass security and rush the stage at a show in Arkansas.
Come November 2019, Astroworld Festival was back for its second year. David Gonzalez was there.
It's officially Houston's biggest music festival. In only its second year, Travis Scott's Astroworld welcomed some of the biggest names in rap to a crowd of more than 50,000 people. And for those fans, they say the cult-like following is worth the hype. The music.
Dude, it's crazy. I've never seen anything like this.
The lights and the mayhem.
I think my boy Jack, he's not gonna let this town down. He's gonna hold it up and represent Houston to the fullest.
Astroworld is the hottest ticket in town, selling out way before the all-star lineup was even announced.
I missed out last year's, so this is my first time. I was like, okay, let me go check it out. It's probably not gonna be all that. Dude, my shoes, gone, pretty much.
This year's festival adding some variety with some unexpected acts taking the stage like Marilyn Manson.
I'm open to all kinds of music and I'm interested in checking it out because I heard the song that he recently did with Ozzy Osbourne.
This Astroworld is a little different to the one some people remember.
I've been to Astroworld, but that was like the original Astroworld. Yes, we used to bring kids here all the time.
So the festival will be a learning experience.
He's pretty spontaneous like that, but I just think it's awesome that we're here. About to have a great time at Astroworld. That's all that matters.
Crowds managed to break through the barricades before the gates opened. Several people were trampled in the chaos. And at one point, Houston police had to call in extra officers because the event was understaffed.
Visibly, I don't see any cops. I did see some security at the front. They patch you well, but other than that, it's kind of like a free-for-all kind of thing.
But HPD later followed up, saying they were working closely with the festival to make sure everyone has a memorable night.
Once they saw my age, they asked me to bring some a little adult supervision, so I think everybody will be fine.
Fans say the success of today's festival goes to show Travis Scott's vision of Astroworld is here to stay.
So in 2019, HPD had to bring in more officers to help control crowds. Now, there wasn't a festival in 2020 because of the pandemic, but in April 2021, Scott announced it would return that November. This time, a two-day festival. Tickets sold out in less than an hour.
And hopefully, it gives like these kids some sort of inspirational thing to do every day.
In the week before the festival, Scott unveiled a campus garden at Young Elementary in Sunnyside. He hosted the Cactus Jack Foundation Fall Classic, a softball game featuring an all-star lineup of athletes and entertainers. All of that led up to November 5th, day one of Astroworld. It again started off with fans stampeding through the entrance, ripping down barricades, and trampling all over each other. Janelle Bluda used time-stamped videos from throughout the day to piece together what happened next.
Astroworld tickets sold out quickly back in May. Thousands waited 6 months for the concert, and November 5th, it was finally here. The festival started at 2 p.m. Gates opened an hour earlier. And in the beginning, there was already chaos. Dozens pushed through the gates, and many were trampled on in the rush. From then on, all of these videos are from the same person's phone. They show at 4:45, rapper Don Toliver was on stage. At 5:35, rapper Roddy Ricch was performing. At 6:41, crowds were waiting for Lil Baby. And in the darkness, at 9:02, Travis Scott comes on stage. At 9:22, a typical concert and all of the energy it brings, but within the next 16 minutes, something happened. At 9:38, video shows people are stopped, many concerned, looking down while the concert continues in the background. 3 minutes later, a security officer is on his radio, and 1 minute later, dozens of hands are in the air signaling for help. And within the next 10 minutes, this video at 9:53 shows people were on the ground, others giving them CPR, and a minute after that, surprise guest Drake is on stage, where he performs with Travis Scott for the next several minutes while people on the ground are waiting for help. At 10:05, you can see a Houston police officer is helping the group. The crowd remains at a standstill in this section, and at 10:08, stretchers arrive, nearly 30 minutes after those initial concertgoers were trying to flag down for help. The mayor says reports were made known that people were being injured at around 9:30 and says the concert was shut down at 10:10. This video shows Travis Scott's final song was being performed at 10:09.
Texas A&M student Sienna is seen in multiple videos crawling onto a production platform, yelling at the crew about what she's seen in the crowd. In another video, the crowd appears to chant, "Stop the show." Scott did pause his performance, which was being streamed on Apple Music.
Somebody passed out right here. Hold on, don't touch him, don't touch him. Everybody just back up.
To point out someone who needed help.
Security, somebody help, jump in real quick, keep going.
The show went on, even as first responders drove into the crowd. At that point, social media documented people climbing on those vehicles. Zach Tawatari spoke to others who were in the crowd.
Friday night's devastation spilling over into Saturday and turning into frustration.
I'm hearing people say that this isn't true, this isn't what happened.
For concert goers like Madeline Eskins, these bracelets were the tickets in for her and her boyfriend Sam Humiston. But what started out as a dream night quickly turned into a nightmare.
This was different. You were literally drowning in people.
It was a sentiment shared by other festival goers as well.
Imagine, I could literally see somebody not being able to breathe in that situation.
And that's exactly what happened to Madeline.
I've never passed out.
Sam then body surfed an unconscious Madeline to the back of the concert as he himself waded through the sea of 50,000 people.
You could not move your arm at all. Like, you could not even move your fingers.
An ICU nurse by profession, as she came to, she was in the right place at the right time.
And I noticed that one guy that they were carrying, he looked real bad. His eyes were rolled in the back of his head. And I stopped her. I said, "Hey, have you checked a pulse?" He didn't have a pulse. And I said, "Hey, don't put him down to go get someone else. You need to take him straight to the medical tent."
Several other concert goers we spoke to say they saw multiple people laid out in front of them.
I'm glad none of us got hurt, but we saw a lot of people like pass out and just get injured.
Madeline spent the rest of her night helping triage patients, and as the investigation into what went wrong continues, Madeline says she wants answers.
I have a lot of questions. They put a lot of people in unsafe situations, and I feel really sorry for the people who lost their lives and the families, and very sorry for all the medics that were trying their best to help.
In the early morning hours that followed, we learned 8 people died, a number that would grow to 10. 9-year-old Ezra Blunt, 14-year-old John Hilgert, 16-year-old Brianna Rodriguez, 20-year-old Jake Juranick, 21-year-old Franco Patino, 21-year-old Axel Acosta Avila, 22-year-old Barthi Shahani, 23-year-old Madison Dubisky, 23-year-old Rudy Pena, and 27-year-old Danish Beg. The Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences reported all 10 of those victims died from something known as compression asphyxia. Dr. George W. Williams with UT Health Houston says that basically means all of the air was forced from their lungs and they passed out from the lack of oxygen.
You're looking at so much force, hundreds of pounds of force outside the chest, to where there's force out the chest emptying out the chest. So imagine someone forcing you to exhale, to take a very big breath out. Then, because that force is still there, you can't take another breath in again.
A memorial formed at NRG Park to honor those victims, drawing people who knew them, as well as complete strangers. Some were at the festival too. Jason Miles shares their stories.
Monday reflections on a Friday tragedy.
That night was not supposed to go that way. I'm so sorry it ended up like this.
A handwritten note left among the flowers is how Astroworld Festival attendee Ben Castro honored the victims.
The community is heartbroken. I cannot imagine how it is like to lose a loved one like that.
Castro told me he was within 30 feet of Travis Scott at one point during the show in the midst of an increasingly chaotic crowd, but was unaware of just how bad things got until Saturday morning.
This was something that I cared about and I loved so much, and then to just realize that it hurt so many people and killed so many kids, it's an awful thing.
I didn't expect any of this to happen. You don't expect this to happen at a concert.
Luis Perez of Chicago recalled getting swallowed up by the crowd and wanted to pay respects to those who did not walk away before heading back home.
It's for the love. It's for the Ragers. I don't know how to explain it.
One of victim Madison Dubisky's high school classmates felt drawn to the site as well.
Just pay my respects and some condolence to her and her family, and saying prayers for her and just thoughts.
Festival goer Rolando Villarreal did not know Heights High School student Brianna Rodriguez, but left a necklace on a teddy bear in her memory.
It's not fair, man. This is not what it's about. This is fun. This is supposed to be a good thing for the city, and this is just heartbreaking.
He's attended every Astroworld Festival, but described this year's as especially out of control.
All of you are in my prayers. If you need help, please reach out because you are not alone.
An event with a lasting impact for all the wrong reasons.
Within days, the first lawsuit was filed. Zach Tawatari reported it accused concert organizers of failing to provide a safe environment to attendees.
In the wake of Friday night's mass casualty incident at the Astroworld Festival, the first known lawsuit coming down less than 24 hours later.
It's tragic that this happened in our city.
Ryan McLeod and Tommy Kirker are part of the Kirker Garcia law firm, representing a 35-year-old concert goer who was trampled.
Our victim was crushed, plain and simple.
The suit alleges that this tragedy was both predictable and preventable, citing a number of issues like negligence of duty, failure to provide a safe environment for concert goers, and failure to maintain, follow, and enforce procedures for safe concerts and operations.
I'm hearing the word trapped. I'm hearing the word not being able to breathe. I'm hearing the word drowning.
The lawsuit filed on Saturday names 15 festival organizers as defendants, including Travis Scott himself, and says that the Houston rapper encouraged a culture of violence through social media posts and prior incidents at past concerts. KHOU legal expert Carmen Rowe,
it's not surprising at all,
says these past events could play a major role in the lawsuit.
We know for certain that Travis Scott has been sued before for people getting injured at his concerts based on known risks that were presented to him and his team. He has a long history of this kind of conduct, and I think that's going to play a significant role.
Something McLeod says is at the center of this tragic incident.
History repeats itself, and Travis Scott's history tells a story.
This was the first of around 400 lawsuits filed. Beyond those suing, Marcelino Benito reported the community wanted answers about how things went so horribly wrong.
Today, HPD Chief Troy Finner broke his silence for the first time in 4 days, and he made it clear this investigation could take weeks, if not months.
We're going to hold people accountable.
HPD Chief Troy Finner not ruling out criminal charges in last week's deadly Astroworld Fest concert. Questions continue to mount about why officials didn't cancel the event at the first sign of trouble that morning. Finner says he spoke to rapper Travis Scott later that day.
And we had a very respectful few-minute conversation on my concerns. I had no reason to believe that it wasn't going to be safe.
We now know the festival went on as scheduled, and that night Scott kept performing even after a mass casualty event was underway.
The ultimate authority to end a show is with production and the entertainer.
Finner confirming that HPD told event personnel to shut down the performance once CPR was being performed on multiple victims. Why the show continued anyway still an open question. So far, investigators have reviewed hundreds of hours of video and spoken to survivors and witnesses, including a security guard who HPD initially reported may have been injected with drugs.
He says that no one injected drugs in him, so we want to clear that part up.
With so much in flux, there are growing calls for an independent agency to step in and investigate.
And I'm not against the independent investigation when it's warranted. It's not warranted right now.
Now, as HPD homicide pushes forward, the state diving in too. Governor Abbott has formed a Texas task force on concert safety
to create the best types of protocols to be used at all venues in the state of Texas to make sure in future events lives will not be lost like what happened in Houston.
And tonight, the governor's office tells us who exactly will be serving on that task force will be announced in the coming days.
In April, that task force released its recommendations. They include requiring promoters to determine which first responders would answer a 911 call during a safety incident, building a standardized checklist for issuing event permits and having authorities stop the show when those rules are broken, having adequate training for security staff, including walkthroughs and briefings before and after shifts, and increased risk assessment before the show, including scrubbing the social media accounts of fans to see what the mood of the crowd could be like. You can read more about it in this article on khou.com. So what's actually changed in the past year? Have any measures been taken to prevent a similar tragedy? Marcelino Benito takes a closer look.
2 task forces, dozens of lawsuits, and nearly 365 days later, the answer is sadly little to nothing has changed. And a world-renowned expert on crowd safety I spoke with says it is unacceptable. 1 year later,
I'll never forget the look of terror on people's faces.
And the horror thousands in the crowd endured.
I remember being crushed from every side by human bodies.
Still seared into the minds and memories of Houstonians. We now know people were dying in this crowd, and what's worse is experts believe it could easily happen again.
Parents should be concerned, and parents should be angry.
Paul Wertheimer, a crowd safety expert, calls the local and state response to the Astroworld tragedy
absolutely the worst.
Days after the tragedy, Governor Greg Abbott formed the Texas Task Force on Concert Safety. By April of this year, they'd release this 9-page report. Wertheimer says it's a failure with no specifics or timetables for change.
A high school class in Texas could have done better, quicker, and at less cost. The task force didn't even address the main cause identified of this disaster, and that is crowd crush festival seating. You won't even find it in a word search in those 6.5 pages.
Wertheimer says the only way to prevent further tragedies is new tough legislation and criminal charges. But nearly 1 year since this public pledge by Houston Police Chief Troy Finner.
And we need to learn lessons from this.
No one's been charged. The chief and his department only confirming an investigation remains ongoing.
An important goal of the task force.
As for the city-county task force on special events formed last February to improve how both Harris County and Houston handle major events like Astroworld Festival, there's been no plan announced to make changes. But Commissioner Adrian Garcia says it takes time.
I want to make sure that whatever recommendations they come with are good, solid recommendations that haven't been compromised by the need to announce something within a year.
Wertheimer says it's taken far too long for the public to learn what's been done and what, if anything, will change at the local level to keep people safe.
They said this is a wake-up call, but every time the industry hears a wake-up call, they hit the snooze button.
KHOU 11 put in several requests to speak with the members of the City-County Task Force, but no one was made available. We do know the task force met in late October and that some type of announcement about changes may be coming, but as we're recording this, that has not happened. Be sure to check khou.com/astroworld for new information. In October of this year, we learned 2 of the victims' families settled their lawsuits against Scott and Live Nation. Family attorneys say Axel Acosta died from compression of the body when the crowd surged. And when asked what they wanted to accomplish from the lawsuit, Acosta's father said he wanted to make changes before someone else's child was hurt or killed in a similar tragedy. The family of 16-year-old Brianna Rodriguez, who was a student at Heights High School, also settled out of court. Her lawyers say the terms are also confidential. So why haven't we heard from more victims or their families? Where does the legal fight stand? Investigative reporter Jeremy Rogalski dug in to get answers.
The legal consequences of the crowd surge and chaos that marred the Astroworld Festival won't be fully known anytime soon.
The law is complicated and facts are complicated, especially in a case like this.
Peter Salib is a UH assistant professor of law.
There's just a lot to find out.
1 year later, both sides are still trying to find out exactly what went wrong through the discovery process, the exchange of evidence and depositions of key players.
What agreements did the promoters have with the venue? What did they say to each other about who was in charge? What did you do to prepare? What did you know? When did you know it?
To help move that process along, nearly 400 lawsuits representing close to 5,000 plaintiffs have been consolidated into what's known as an MDL, or multi-district litigation. The goal, legal experts say, is to settle the cases through the help of a mediator. But if the plaintiffs and more than 60 defendants cannot come to terms, a sampling of cases may go to trial. Those likely would come from each category of lawsuit: wrongful death cases, extensive injury cases, less serious injuries, and other damages like PTSD.
It gives the parties some idea of what the value of that type of case may be.
Randy Sorrells is a former Texas State Bar president and expert in complex litigation. He says the total potential payout to Astroworld victims could be staggering.
And you're probably talking about dollars in the hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even approaching $1 billion when it's all said and done.
Now, you most likely won't hear from victims or anyone involved in the lawsuits in the media. The judge has issued a gag order. As for the MDL case, the next status conference is set for later this month, but at any time, plaintiffs' attorneys can work out a settlement for their own clients. Jeremy Rogowski, KHOU 11 Investigates.
At the center of all this is the man who was center stage on November 5th, Travis Scott. Lauren Tallarico recaps what his career has been like since.
It was a festival much of Houston was proud of. Hosted by Houston's rap superstar, Travis Scott, Astroworld on its way to becoming an annual event. But last year, with more than 50,000 people in the crowd, the concert turned chaotic when thousands surged towards the stage. People were trampled and crushed. Social media videos we won't show you here show lifeless bodies and terror. Panicked concertgoers screamed to stop the show, but it went on for more than 30 minutes. In the end, 10 people died, the youngest just 9 years old.
Emotional roller coaster,
Since then, Scott has done few interviews, but he did speak to musician Charlemagne about a month later. In the interview, posted to YouTube, Scott claims he couldn't see what was unfolding in the crowd.
Well, it's like a sea. You got lights, you got sound, you got pyro. Anytime I could see anything like that, I did, I stopped it like a couple times.
Video from that night shows he did stop at least once.
Somebody passed out right here.
But as we now know, that wasn't enough. Many blamed Scott for what happened. Soon, brands distanced themselves. Anheuser-Busch discontinued his hard seltzer. Nike and Dior delayed collaborative releases. And concerts paused too.
Really ain't nothing to see.
But then 6 months later, Diddy, host and producer of this year's Billboard Music Awards, invited Scott to perform. His first TV appearance since Astroworld. After that, his slow return picked up speed, including that delayed release of his Nike sneaker, which is still sold out. Then in August, London, his first international show since November. The celebration posted on girlfriend Kylie Jenner's public Instagram page. It seems the world has opened back up to Scott since Astroworld. Whether his hometown is ready to do the same is yet to be known.
A year later, there is still a lot unsettled. Thousands of victims have filed suit seeking compensation from Travis Scott. The cases could be tied in court for years, and there's a gag order preventing anyone involved with the case from discussing it.
We've just skimmed the surface of what's happened in the year since the Astroworld Festival tragedy. If you want to dig deeper into our investigations, learn more about the victims, or just catch up on what we've learned, go to khou.com/astroworld. As always, you can tune into KHU 11 on air, online via KHU.com and YouTube, as well as by using our KHU 11 Plus app on Roku and Fire TV.